he played really well, and it's hard to say like was this his best game. I think every time he has a good game, we kind of get into that conversation. But what's nice about it is now there are a lot of options as to which was Lukas Reichel's best game, and he is playing very solid. In this one, he seems like a dude that when he scores, there's like a different level. Like when he starts to play with confidence and starts dictating the play, he's a different guy. And I loved on that 2-on-1 with Athanasiou and him that he just shot the puck.
Yes.
Just shoot it. It's not selfish to take the shot.
Well,
the defender is defending to take the pass away.
Yeah.
That is on a 2-on-1, the defenseman's job is to take the pass away and allow the goalie to focus on the shooter. So shooting is not selfish. It is the higher percentage play. And I hope that him and others get that through their mind as these young guys start to come up through the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a real good showing. Here, Reichel's line, he had the goal, had a penalty in the game. Shame on you. 2 shots on goal, 2 more shot attempts. Here are the 2 things that I like. Obviously the goal, but 2 takeaways and a block shot. So you're getting it in both zones, which is great.
Absolutely.
I would like to see him. Today would have been a perfect game to play him at center.
Yeah.
They've been playing him at essentially center for the last 2 seasons in Rockford. I don't necessarily think he's an NHL center. But what harm is it to use these last 11, 12 games to figure it out, especially when you've got Kurashev, who'd been playing center in that line, out. But Andreas Athanasiou, so he could lose all 7 of the faceoffs, all 8 of the face, 0 for 8 at the faceoff dot.
That's one for the document.
Not good.
I could be 0 for 8 from the faceoff.
Yeah, you could. I have faith that you could do that.
I could easily do that. Why not just play him at center for the next few games? What is it going to hurt?
Yeah.
Let him try it. He's played well as a center in the AHL. I think he can handle it. I don't necessarily think that is his long-term projected position.
Yeah.
I think he'll be better at the wing, especially for this first couple of years. But where's the harm to just put him out there? Maybe tomorrow, play him at center tomorrow. You try it, Athanasiou, wasn't great.
I mean, even if they know for sure they don't project him as a center, he's still a better option than Athanasiou.
Right.
Yes.
I can't remember the last time Athanasiou played center.
Right.
Like
Reichel's
it's been a
playing
while.
that position in the AHL for 2 seasons.
Right.
And he played a few games at center this year too.
Yeah, so I don't get that move right there. I mean, we haven't had a lot of things to criticize Luke Richardson over this year, but that's a questionable move there. Like, just what the hell difference does it make at this point?
Yeah.
It can't make things worse. Maybe you see something where you go, okay, maybe we can play him at center. Or maybe he does something, you go, yeah, no, you're a winger. It's decided. It's over.
Yeah, right.
Like, just
Well, you know what?
let it go.
The thing is, if he's asked, he'll tell you. That's what we like about Luke. It's like, what is behind the decision to not play him at center?
I look forward to possibly asking him that question before tomorrow's game.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
That'd be great. That'd be really, really great.
Probably another opportunity for him to do it because it appears Kurashev is going to miss some time.
Yeah, arm in a sling today.
Because Ben Pope said that his arm was in a sling. I don't think you go from arm in a sling to playing
He's
in an
definitely
NHL
not playing
game.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so there's an opportunity for him
There's
to...
probably a good chance. Luke Richardson said today with John Weideman on WGN Radio that once he gets back to Chicago, he'll get evaluated by the team medical staff and they'll have a better idea. At least we know with his arm in a sling, it's not a concussion that some people worried about. I didn't think it was on that play because you could tell he was like shaking his arm a little bit after that hit. So, if it's hopefully it's minor, but if it shuts him down for the next few games or the rest of the season, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And then just tell Lukas Reichel, you're a center for the rest of the year. This is your audition.
Yeah.
If you want to
absolutely.
play center in the league, here's your 10-game window. Show us what you got, and just tell them that's where you're playing. No matter what happens, you are our top-line center for till the end of the season.
And if it doesn't work out, you're not in a position where you're like, oh, shoot, he can't play center. Now what are we going to do?
Right.
Like, because he's had success at wing. And I think what we've talked about this season in his growth away from playing the game with the puck on his stick is his defensive responsibilities. And when you play center so much, like he has it at the AHL level, you focus way more on the defensive aspect of the game by playing that position. On the wing, you don't have as many responsibilities. So to even still see his game developing defensively while playing primarily wing at the NHL level this year, like that's really encouraging. And so, yeah, I think there is an opportunity for him to see if he can be an NHL center. And if he's not, it's not doom and gloom. Do the opposite of what you did with Kirby Dach. Don't shoehorn a player into a position if they're not that position.
Right.
If Reichel is better as a wing, let him be a wing and move forward from there.
Yeah. There was a comment a few minutes ago from Bill saying something along the lines of, it looks like at worst that Lukas Reichel is a second liner. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, not every draft pick you make is going to be a star player, but if Lukas Reichel is a, I don't know, 50, 60 point guy in his career, I would call that a win.
Sure.
If Lukas Reichel is on your second line, that means you have 3 forwards better than Lukas Reichel, and that means you got a pretty good team.
Yeah.
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 There's nothing wrong with that.
If a mid first round pick becomes a second line scoring option, that's
good first
that's
round.
totally fine.
Good use of that pick.
Yeah.
We'll update the poll results right now. How has Lukas Reichel performed this season? 67% say met expectations, 23% say exceeded expectations, and 10% say below expectations. Feel free to share your thoughts on this in the chat. Curious to see what the people who say below, why you would say that, and people that say he's exceeded, why they would say that. I think I voted met. It's about what I expected.
Yeah.
Neither answer is wrong. I'm just curious as to why you voted the way you did. So please do that. And another reminder to smash that like button for us. We would greatly appreciate that. But yeah, I just, I think for the last few years when we've seen Reichel, we've been missing that spark, those moments or those games here and there. Like I would say with him, like one in every third game we've seen from him, we're like, wow, he really looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Like not just, because he scores or whatever, but he looks like a factor every time he's on the ice. As he gets older and gets more experience and gets better line mates, quite frankly,
Right.
Those now you'll see 2 out of 3 games where he looks really good. Then it'll be every game, and those bad games will be 1 in 10 or whatever it will be.
Mm-hmm.
So this is part of the development. I will say, early this season, the first call up, I didn't want to say I was panicked, but I had a little bit of concerns because there wasn't much being seen there.
Yeah.
And from what we saw last year, wasn't too much yet either. And we hadn't seen the dominance in the preseason. But then that call-up where he scored in that call-up game and had, 4 points in 3 games or whatever it was, I felt good about things since then. And this latest call-up has only affirmed that for me.
Yeah, this season there haven't been, even the first game he played and the circumstances around how he got to the team and had to play basically on like a couple hours notice. This season there hasn't been a performance from him where you come away with it from it thinking he's in over his head. Like I haven't seen that at all from him this season in the NHL. Last season there were a few times where you're like, not a great performance, not a great effort. But I think last season we didn't really see like the opportunities for growth all that much. Because when he was here, if I remember correctly, last season when he was here, he wasn't ever really put into a top position, given the main guy responsibilities, because this still was a team that had Alex DeBrincat and Kirby Dach and Patrick Kane and so on and so forth. So now he has the opportunity to play top line option. It's his team right now, offensively. So I think when he's put in that position, given that opportunity, I think he's grabbed hold of it in a good manner. I would say met expectations, which is totally fine. He's still 20 years old. He's got a lot of growing that he can still do. But it's what he's done in the AHL, what he's done this year in the majority of his call-ups, make what he could do next year. Like if he can meet or exceed expectations next year, you're going to have a really good player.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird vote for me because heading into the season, I expected Lukas Reichel to be on this team the whole year.
Yeah, I think we all did.
And so that expectation wasn't met, but that wasn't because of anything he did.
Right.
That's part of the Tankorama plan, and it's been working pretty good for both him and the Blackhawks because he has become more of a complete player. Somebody in the chat said center is a 200-foot game. He's showing us that he could play defense too.
Yeah.
Like,
and it doesn't mean
he's not
being
alive.
Patrice Bergeron.
Right.
No.
It means just being responsible.
Right. If you trust Andreas Athanasiou to be that guy, for shit's sake, give Lukas Reichel a game or two there.
Yeah.
Like, come on. So I met expectations because my expectations heading into the season were that by the end of the season, we would know that Lukas Reichel is ready to be a productive NHL player. And I think it's fair to say that we've reached that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Given the way he's played, that first extended call-up of those 3-4 games, and then this call-up, he looks like an NHL player. The debate is still out there on what kind of NHL. Superstar? Probably not. Very good player? That's probably where he fits in. Contributor, role player, I think he'll be better than that. But at least watching him, he is not afraid of being in the NHL, or he's not in over his head. He's doesn't look lost out there. He's taking control of moments. He's being that play today. He took control of that play. Like, we've seen him where he gets in that mode where it's like he's taking over the game right now.
Yeah.
Those moments have been few and far between, but he's having those moments. We didn't see those moments at all last year. Not here. So he's starting to realize that he can play in all three zones at the NHL level, and having a coaching staff that's coaching him up and being confident in him helps. So I met expectations because I wanted to know. My expectations were that we would have very few questions left about Lukas Reichel at the end of the season, and I think it's fair to say that's where we are.
So if Reichel had been up with the NHL club all year and was producing at the pace that he has produced this season in his 16 games, he would be a 20-goal, 40-point player. And that would basically lead the team in both categories.
And he would probably be getting some consideration for the Calder.
No, because he's already passed his rookie.
Does he not meet the requirements for the Calder?
The Calder is if you've played less than the requirements to burn your first year, I think.
Is it? Okay.
I think it is. Because there hasn't been guys who have had 3 games 1 year and 5 games 1 year and then went in and had a full rookie season.
Here it is. A player cannot have played more than 25 games in any single preceding season, nor in 6 or more games in each of any 2 preceding seasons in any major professional league.
That doesn't make
any
any
major
sense.
professional.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Then how did Artemi Panarin win it?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think that part's right.
So
But
I
think the
think the first one's probably right.
So he would have qualified this year because he had less than 25 games and had not played more than 6. And so he won't qualify
guess,
for
yeah.
it. So I'm just saying this year, if he would have played
the
full season and had 20 goals,
you're right.
he'd be in consideration. I'm not saying he would have won it. There's been some pretty good rookies out there this year, but
you'd be talking
in that
about
conversation. So that means he's not qualified for it next year then.
No, he wouldn't be.
Right.
Because he's played more than 6 games this year, more than 6 games last year.
Right.
And he'd be over, if he plays the rest of the season, he'll be over that 25-game mark, I believe.
Right.
I got a super chat here from Jeff. It says, would Patrick Sharp be a comparable player for Lukas Reichel to be on the trajectory of evolving into? Maybe production-wise, but I think they're different kind of players.
Yeah,
They're
I don't think he
different
has
players.
they had different kind of. Sharp was more of a.
Sharp was a shooter
He was
first.
more of a sniper.
Yeah.
Where Reichel has that playmaking ability.
Yeah, I feel
Reichel likes to pick up assists just as much as he likes to score.
I feel like Reichel is more of a puck carrier
Yeah.
than Sharp, and I think he's faster than Sharp. Sharp was pretty fast, though. But I would say shot versus shot, Sharp has an advantage. Speed, and I think speed with the puck, Reichel has an advantage. Hands, I think Reichel has an advantage. Sharp is bigger. So I think maybe you could see similar production, but I don't know if the player comp is.
Yeah.
I keep going back to Tavo.
That's pretty good.
That's really
Yeah.
who I
Yeah.
see
A
right now.
A taller version of Taylor.
And maybe not as strong defensively.
Yet.
Estebo.
But at least right now, in where he's at and where he could go, that's what I see early on.
I'm trying to like, in my mind's eye plug Lukas Reichel now into the Dynasty Hawks and see like what his role would be.
He'd probably be in the AHL.
Yeah, but I mean, but just for make pretend, I could see like third line.
Yeah.
Third
line guy playing with Versteeg and those guys.
You'd be on a line with Chris Versteeg and Dave Bola, and that would be a fun line.
That would be fun. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I had a thought. It escaped.
That's right. We got a lot of good chats. We had some positives and some negatives on Reichel. I know we had one from No Roids who said, there you go, he voted below expectations. If he's the Hawks' top prospect right now, I need to see a lot more from him to feel confident.
He's not.
He will be a great player. He's not their top prospect. He's probably third at this point.
He's not anymore.
Behind Korchinski, behind Nazar.
Yeah.
I think that, and of course, whoever gets picked,
whoever's their top three pick.
Speaking of Kevin Korchinski.
Speaking of Kevin Korchinski,
yeah.
he had himself a night last night. 4 points for the Seattle Thunderbirds in a win. 2 goals, 2 assists. Nolan Allen also had an assist in that game. Colton Dock scored. He's back healthy for the Thunderbirds. So it's great that those 3 decided last night was going to be a game where they all 3 were going to get onto the score sheet, because we teased it a couple shows ago. It is confirmed now. Wednesday, the 29th, right here on this CHGO Blackhawks channel. All 3 of those players will be talking with us as the Seattle Thunderbirds prepare for their WHL postseason. Korchinski, Dock, and Allen. We're going to be talking with those guys, chatting it up, seeing how their season has gone, talk about their paths to becoming teammates with the Thunderbirds, and it'll be good. It'll be a good time.
That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
6 guys talking about hockey.
We didn't get to talk to any of them at Prospects Camp, right?
We talked to Nolan Allen.
Oh, that's right. Nolan Allen we talked to. Yeah.
And we get a little chat. We got to talk a little bit to, not on the show, but a little bit to Colton Dock in the preseason.
Yeah.
Before he went back. But no, that's going to be...
it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great. And, thanks, Mario, for setting that up.
Yeah,
and
nice work, my friend.
It will be... It'll be fun. It'll be 6 dudes chatting about pucks.
Yeah, and other stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever we want to find out from those guys, those youngins. They've they've put together a wagon of a team in Seattle. So it's going to be fun to see what those guys do. I would be shocked if Seattle does not have a deep run in the WHL and is not playing for the Memorial Cup later this spring.
Before we take a break, let's get to some more of the comments about Reichel. I know we had one from Keith, I think, comparing him to Ruutu. He says the overhype on Reichel reminds me of Tuomo Ruutu. Too much hype just because he's the first prospect in a long time. I don't know. I think the word hype is a huge exaggeration. I think that he is being talked about as a top 50 prospect, which he is in the eyes of most people around the league. Tuomo Ruutu is overhyped. And I don't even know if he was overhyped because he was so injured. And it was freak injuries, like getting his calf cut up by the back of the net, knee injuries. Like, these are things that are not like soft tissue things that injury-prone players go through.
Yeah.
He had a lot of freak, major injuries that certainly derailed his career a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think Reichel's overhyped at all. I think it's just, he is like really the only guy who is pretty much a guaranteed NHLer at this point, outside of Korchinski, Nazar, maybe Renzel, and some others. But he's the closest one. That's why we focus on him the most.
Yeah. Going into next season, looking at the roster, there's pretty much 2 guys that you can write down right now that will be NHLers out of the prospect, quote unquote, prospect group, and it's Reichel and Kurashev. And I would say Reichel's upside is probably higher than Kurashev's. I think I think most people who are observing him in the prospect analyst community, and people outside of people higher than that, just people around the NHL are seeing his skill set and say, like, this kid's gonna be a productive NHL player. We're not saying Lukas Reichel is going to be the top player for the Blackhawks for the next 15 years. But we're saying he has the potential and skill set and is on the right path to being a pretty darn good player.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a guy topping out as like a career second line scoring option, like we said before. I don't think that's overhyping anybody. If we were saying Lukas Reichel is going to be the number one center for the next decade, I think that would be a bit of an overhype.
I don't think there's any overhype. I just think it was excitement because this was the first prospect at forward we've had in years that we can be like, hey, this guy might actually play for this team. We were just excited we had a guy that could be a contributing member of this team at forward. Like, when was the last prospect at forward we were all like, this can be kind of fun outside of Kirby Doc? DeBrincat, right. Yeah. But, like, there hasn't been many.
No, there hasn't been many. It was basically like Taze and Kane came in.
Right.
And then that was like the standard set for forward prospects
and expectations, which is unfair.
Which is quite the lofty expectations and standard to set.
No Roids talks about he hasn't heard about Reichel like Nyes, Beniers, and McTavish. Well, okay, Matthew Nyes is hyped because he's a Maple Leaf prospect. Everybody who's drafted by the Maple Leafs is an effing god up there until they're not. So that's why. And then Beniers and McTavish were top 5 picks.
Top 5 picks on teams that needed them immediately.
Right. So
and Reichel was 17th overall.
Yeah. So that's why. I mean, it's those
the same.
Nyes is in the hype machine of Toronto. And is probably a wee bit overrated just for the fact that he's a Toronto prospect. He's good.
He's a good player.
I wish the Blackhawks had him in their system.
Like, they're going to trade him for Eric Gustafsson at the deadline down the road.
But it's like, that those are the reasons why. I mean, Reichel wasn't a top 5 pick. He got drafted, by the Blackhawks during their downturn, literally mid first round.
Yep.
So they're not going to have the hype for a guy like that you would for a guy drafted 3rd or 4th overall or playing, good hockey as a prospect in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. And I think the visibility of his career path hasn't been the same as McTavish, who played in the OHL and was a world like a captain of Team Canada at the World Juniors. Yep. Beniers was at Michigan. Yeah. Same big setup with Team USA, and forget the other guy. Oh, Nyes, who's again doing the same playing at Minnesota, the number 1 team in the country. Right. Like, there's a lot of visibility around those guys. Whereas Reichel, post draft, was playing in Germany. Like, I don't know how many people watch the Deutsche League.